It's been a year and a half since the 2024 election, but questions and debates surrounding the final months of the Biden presidency and the campaign, those questions and debates have hardly faded. Well, now, former First Lady Jill Biden is offering her most detailed account yet. It's a new memoir. It's called View from the East Wing. She's reflecting on her years in the White House, her husband's presidency, and also the questions over his age and health and the events that led to his decision to end his political career. Welcome back, Dr. Biden.
Well, thanks.
Good morning.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So you wrote an autobiography back in 2019, but this is different.
This is different.
Why did you feel like you had to set the record straight now?
Well, I guess because so many people wrote about Joe's 4 years in the White House, and I felt that, you know, now it was my turn to give my view and my reflections.
Last year, it was revealed that the former president has stage 4 cancer, stage 4 prostate cancer, that it's also spread to his bones as well. As we sit here right now, how is former President Biden doing?
He's, you know, he's doing okay. I mean, Craig, you've been through this with your brother. Yeah. You know how tough it is. And I think if he had just been, you know, diagnosed with prostate cancer, that's one thing, because that can be cured. Yeah. But the fact that it metastasized to his bones, that makes it a whole different story. And so I think Joe will live with cancer till the rest of his life.
Let's talk about the book, because his age and his health, it's a good part of the book. And you write about this, that debate moment that so many people have talked about and written about, June of 2024. I want to remind our viewers exactly how part of it went down.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
So in the book, you write that you thought that he might have been having a stroke on stage during that part of the debate. But despite that, the debate ends, and you guys go on to have not one but two political events. And here's part of what you said a few hours later.
You did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. 4 more years.
In the days and weeks after that, you continued to insist that the president was fine. How do you square thinking that he may have had a stroke with what you were saying in the days and weeks after? How do you square that?
Well, look, Craig, look at it from my point of view. So I'm watching, just like everybody else was, scared to death, like what is going on? He gets off the stage. I see he appears to be okay. He says to me, Jill, I really, in other words, messed up, didn't I? And I said, yes, you did. And so we get off, and I know we're going into another event, or we have 2 more to do. And my mind is racing. What do I say to him? What do I say to him? I'm his wife. I've got to lift him up. So we go to the next event, and I'm thinking, what do I say that will lift him up? That is true. I want to say the things that are true. And so I said, you know, you answered every question. My mind's racing. You know,
that's a pretty low bar.
Well, and so, you know, I had to sort of lift him up. I mean, I'm his wife. I'm not going to get out on the stage there and say, Joe, you really screwed that up. I mean, and we have all our supporters there. So, you know, that's who we are. I mean, as I had to support him, I couldn't come out and, I mean, really publicly say, Joe, you did a terrible job in that debate? In
the book, you also write that was, you write that was essentially sort of a one-off.
Yes.
That this is not who he had become. But,
no.
But Special Counsel Robert Hur, as you probably know, he described the former president, quote, as an elderly man with a poor memory. George Clooney, the actor, said at a private fundraiser before the debate, quote, Biden was the same man we saw that we all witnessed on that debate stage. Even his former chief of staff said that his memory had worsened over the course of his presidency.
He aged. He did. He got older, and we all saw him aging. You know, there were the words that he would forget. But, you know, we were all aging.
You wrote something. This is quite revealing in the book, and I want to put an excerpt on the screen. Okay. You write, because you questioned some of your decision-making, it seems, in the book. Had he grown too old for the job? And I hadn't noticed. I didn't think so, but could I be objective enough to be sure? The doctors assured us that he was healthy and able. In hindsight, were you able to be impartial?
Well, you know, the doctors did assure us. I mean, he had an exam every year, a health exam like every president does. The doctors assured us he was, you know, he was healthy. And I saw him doing the job every single day. Every single day. He got up, he went into the office, he did the job, he passed bipartisan legislation. You know, he worked, and I saw him work hours into the night. So you know, yes, did I see him, you know, slowing down a little bit when he got tired? Did he stutter a little bit at night? Yeah, sure. But he was still doing the job, and he was doing a good job.
You're his closest confidant. You're described as Joe's gut check. If you could go back in a time machine and do it all over again, would you have encouraged him maybe to not run again?
You know, as I look back, would I want to put Joe through the hurt and the pain that we felt during that time? Never. Never. I mean, it was so hurtful. And
so it sounds like you're saying if you could do it all over again, you probably would have encouraged him to be a one-term president.
But it had to be his decision, Craig. It had to be his decision alone, because he had to live with that decision the rest of his life. I couldn't say, Joe, do this, or Joe, do that. It was his decision to run in the first place, only his, even though the family had their input, especially the grandchildren.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was his decision to get out.
It's interesting because in the book, you know, you write about this scene at a restaurant where you two are talking about the decision to run. You could have said there, you could have said, you know, Joe, you've done.
That was in 2021?
Yeah.
Or 20, I forget what year it was myself. But what do you mean I could have said you're too? No.
Okay.
Everybody was saying, Joe, you have to run. You have to run. Everybody was encouraging to run. In my book, I write about that, how people were encouraging him. Because in the beginning, he thought, you know, should I run? Shouldn't I run? But everybody was so positive, and you know, all our supporters were so positive. Everywhere we'd go, supermarkets, down the street.
Dr. Biden, to be fair, I mean, there's a poll. There's a poll from 10 months before that debate moment. I mean, you're noting the folks who wanted him to run. This is August 2023. We're not talking Republican voters here. We're talking 77% of everyone asked, was he too old to be effective to serve another term? Nearly 3/4 of them said, yeah, he's too old. Democrats, 7 in 10. How do you square that with the decision to put him through it again because he really wanted to?
Well, you know, I square it with in 2023, the Democratic Party was behind my husband. And then the debate happened and things changed. So, you know, in my book, I write about everything that happened. I put it all in context. You read my book, and thank you for that.
Yes.
And so I think readers will understand from my point of view. And I think we have to point out, Craig, like, that's one chapter of my book. My book is not about politics. It's about me, my reflections, my life as a teacher, my life as the first working lady, you know, first lady. I mean, I went to work. I taught at a community college. I took a paycheck. I wanted to say to American women, look at me. I'm like you are. I'm balancing a job, my family, and then my duties as First Lady. And that's what my book is about.
Yes.
It's not all about this debate, which was one moment in time of our 4 years.
In her book last fall, former Vice President Kamala Harris, she wrote that staying in as long as he did was recklessness. That, quote, the stakes were simply too high to leave to one person's ambition. Does the former vice president perhaps have a bit of a point there?
That is her point of view, and if she felt that way, she should have said it.
The book, it's already, as you probably have heard, some fellow Democrats have expressed some frustrations with the timing of the book, reopening old wounds.
I'm not
potentially,
reopening old wounds.
But this is just some of what they've been saying in the last few days. Take a listen.
I think Democrats do have to be honest about the mistakes that we made in 2024. Obviously, in retrospect, Joe Biden should have stepped away from that race.
Joe Biden, his family, his inner circle, I mean, they did this country and certainly the Democratic Party a grave disservice by allowing this to go forward.
When we get pulled back into conversations about age and the election in 24, it's never going to be a good place for Democrats.
What's your response?
We are moving on. You know, Democrats have a great future. I think, we're looking forward to winning the midterms. And I think things are going to move forward in a more positive way. And yes, we look back and we're going to learn from the mistakes we made.
You're right. The book isn't just about politics. It's
Thank
not
you,
just
Craig.
about that moment. You write about Hunter. You write about Hunter. You write about the decision to pardon him as well. You acknowledge that the former president's senior advisors said not a good idea, but ultimately you and the former president decided that for your family it would be a good idea.
Have you do the pardon? You mean
the pardoning?
Well, wait a minute.
Hunter.
Not you and your family decided to pardon him, Joe.
But you consulted. You said you supported it.
I did support it, of course. I'm his mother.
Have you made peace with the idea, perhaps, that a decision that could have been good for the Biden family may not have been necessarily good for the office of the president or precedent moving forward?
Joe wasn't thinking about himself. You know, he said all along he was not going to pardon Hunter.
But
then the administration changed. You know, the process was not fair to Hunter. And Joe could not see our son, then the current president won, and the Justice Department changed. It became political. You know, Craig, you and I both know we grew up with, the three separate branches of government, hands off. Joe would never have interfered in the Justice Department and told the Justice Department what to do or how to handle it. So we were never, at the end, when we saw that Trump, if someone tells you who they are, believe it. Trump said, I want Hunter Biden to go to jail. We could not let our son go to jail on that charge for a gun that he bought and he had for 11 days. We could not let him go to jail. The
president basically
changed his mind.
Changed his mind?
Yes.
Because he lost faith in the system?
Yes, I guess it is, yeah.
It's interesting because we started this conversation by talking about our connection. And the Biden legacy, so much of it is going to involve cancer.
It is.
You lost a bout of cancer. You launched the Moonshot Initiative.
Yep.
And now the former president has stage 4 prostate cancer. In terms of legacy, as you look back on this chapter, what do you want the Biden family legacy to be? Not the political legacy, the personal legacy when it comes to these families right now who are in similar fights?
Oh, my gosh. It's so hard. It's so hard to be a caregiver in that, you worry every day. Is he eating right? Is he getting enough exercise? Did he have his medications? And I think every American family has someone in their family dealing with this. And I hope that people can find hope in the fact that people are still fighting. We're still fighting against cancer. Yeah. It's part of my legacy, I hope. It's part of Joe's legacy, that we will keep fighting, just like we did in those 4 years. We will keep fighting for the American people.
I know you will. Joe Biden, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
It really is a fascinating book.
Thank you.
She's going to be sitting down with Jenna and Chanel as well later this morning. And the memoir, View from the East Wing, is out tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.